Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Success is Complicated podcast. I am your host, Raquel.
And I am your co-host, Sierra.
All right, see, let's just go ahead and jump right into it.
How was your week?
I had a good week.
That's good.
How was your week?
I had a good week. I really did.
I don't even remember the week, even being honest.
It's like that sometimes.
Yeah,
Like that. You had a busy week.
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, okay.
Didn't I? I did actually. I did. It was a full load this week. It was a full load. What was your week?
It was good. My kid had track yesterday. You know.
Okay. They did good too.
Yeah, Hakeem, he did do good.
Yeah, he was the only one that ran this weekend though.
Right. And then Dominique runs next week.
Okay. So you want me to jump in now?
Go ahead, because it seems like that's all you ready for.
No, I was thinking about the time too, because we were late this morning. And I know that once we get into our topics, we really start talking. So I was trying to be mindful of the time too.
Okay, let's hop into it.
All right. So I seen this post on Instagram, right? And I think the both of us we're always sending each other. Oh, your eye. We're always sending each other like posts on Instagram to just like, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this?
Right.
And I saw this post. It said the midlife crisis is happening at younger ages. Generations were raised with an obsessive focus on achievement. The result is 30 years old. The result is 30-year-olds who don't know who they are, living unfulfilling lives. Older generations tend to mock a desire for fulfillment because they never got to experience it. So, I thought it was like an interesting post. It also just makes me think about how there's so much information like on like social media or just information that's available to us in general that a lot of us we take it on, swallow it, digest it without even thinking about it, often making us feel, I learned a new term this week, where it's like this learned helplessness, right? Or victims, like what we say. And I think it's, I don't know, this whole mental health trend, like, I think it's incredible that people are seeking therapy and the support that they need. But I also think it's so important to, like, I guess, do your own research, learn to listen to your own voice. And this message right here, got over like 155,000 likes. And yeah.
Well, I guess my thoughts on it is, humans are meaning makers, right? So for whatever I'm experiencing today that I may not have seen before, or I didn't realize my parents may have been experiencing, or their parents may have experienced, I try to come up with like a reason for it, or and I think that that's really what that post is, like really, like, let me make sense out of my life today. And it ends up being like excuse.
Does it always have to be like, I guess, does meaning making always have to be wrapped up in like victimhood? That's the thing. That's what that it gets on my nerves.
But I think if we look at like just human behavior altogether, that's one of the easiest things to do is go to victimhood.
Very easy to
It's
do.
very easy. I mean, I do it all the time, and then I'd be like, nope, I don't want to be in this hood.
No, so if we were to put like talk about history, right? The field of counseling was birthed out of career, like jobs. So when you think about when people would start coming home from the wars, people were displaced when the agriculture industry was starting to go away and they needed people to do the more industrialized roles. Right. Like it created like difficult times for people. So when we talk about like this whole mental health industry, like it was birthed out of people feeling the discomfort that came with like their careers. And then if you like progress to the 1960s, like when John F. Kennedy, like they say that was the turn of like people starting to think about their jobs from a more meaningful perspective and wanting to do like career development because it signified like a time of hope. And I think that, we often say that history tells us
a story.
Tells us a story, right? So I guess when I saw that post, for me it just went back to how we're all so interconnected. Like I don't know that prior generations didn't want to do meaningful work. Like I don't know anybody that doesn't want to do meaningful work, but I think it's the balance between you have responsibility,
right,
and also figuring out what that looks like. And I don't know, and I only know that information because I went through the program to become a counselor, right? So for me, my meaning making it's been a combination of like gratitude, understanding a little bit of history, taking a little bit of the textbook stuff, and then just figuring out how to decipher between all of that information. But I don't know that, like when you say like the older generation don't understand that there's a need for us to have fulfillment, I don't even know that I agree with that. Just thinking about what people have said, even about some of my career choices, I think that there's always been a weight in terms of responsibility.
Right. But once people realize you're doing like what makes you happy, or you're still able to handle those responsibilities, I think the conversation shifts. And I think that, it's encouraging.
People take it so personal. I seen a clip the other day. Actually, it was Tyler Perry. He was like, it's like after a while, his mama was like, "Baby, get him shows up," and he was like, "My mama loved me. My mama loved me," and he was, he was explaining that it wasn't that my mom didn't want what was best for me. Like she was my number one like team player. But after a while, like my credit card payments were behind. She was trying to support me, support this dream, and it just wasn't coming. And he was explaining like when God puts something on your heart, you just need to follow it. Like it's not that some people just don't get it. Some people just don't understand it. So it's not always so personal as we make it out to be. And I think that's why those posts like irritate. That's why those posts irritate me, because it creates like a lot of like, it has the ability to create like a lot of internal conflict to make us feel that we're
not connected,
or we're so different from each other,
right? Or prior generations.
Yeah, because I don't know, like when I think about you remember when my dad moved here, when he first moved here, and got introduced to a whole new career. He working as a mechanic for over 20 something years. And to be honest, that's where I learned about fulfillment from. My dad was like, I hate this. I absolutely hate it. He was making...
Wait a minute. What did he hate?
The job.
Working as a mechanic.
No, like when he came here,
to say he loved being a mechanic.
No, that's what I'm saying. But you remember he struggled being here because
he ain't like working behind no desk. He was like,
right,
y'all ain't doing no work. Did you work hard today? No, you didn't.
He was very dismissive about the mental capacity that comes with doing desk work, but the point, like, he loves being under a hood. He was like the money is good, but I don't enjoy this work.
Right.
He said it does nothing for me, and I didn't get it.
Right.
I didn't get it because, and I think that's the part about that's so interesting. Like when you think about like, so there are developmental tasks and there are developmental crises, right? Okay. And when I say like developmental tasks, I think that we're all wired. We're inherently wired for growth.
Right.
To me, which translates to some degree, we all inherently wired to win.
Right.
And then at some point you realize, like, okay, it ain't all about winning. You start to redefine what it means to win at life.
Right.
And then maybe that's where the fulfillment comes in. But like, it's a process.
It is a process. It's
just like our parents, they probably wait until they raise us and then say, I'm going to go and live my life.
True.
And the opposite, now we probably like,
I'm going to live my life today, and I'm going to raise you.
And I'm going to raise these kids. So I don't think that, I don't know, I just don't see us any different. I just wish that people would like, take the information in. Or read the information. What did Sharita used to say? Chew on that shit before you swallow it.
Right. But maybe people aren't necessarily swallowing it. They're just feeling they're just feeling the disconnection, right? And that's just something that validates what they already see and think. They're disconnected from like the experiences of others. And they are a post like that just goes
I think
to
that
validate.
When you're disconnected from others, I think that it also reveals like a lack of awareness too. Like with self. That's just, I think that
What does that mean?
I just feel like, and I'm speaking from my own worldviews here, right? I feel like the more that you start to see how connected we are to other people,
right,
the more that you can see yourself.
Right.
Like it allows for you to remove like judgment of self, which means that you're removing judgment from others.
Right.
It allows you to be able to extend grace, compassion, like all of those things to others and to yourself.
Right.
And I think oftentimes, like just from the work that I do, like, and too, when people are not able to make those connections outside of like this whole learned helplessness and victimhood, like they still struggle or don't get like the things that they want out of life.
I guess I would agree. What is learned helplessness? Like you talked about that earlier this week. I don't know what I was doing, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. But what is the learned helplessness?
So I'm gonna try it. So learn helplessness. It came from a study that wanted to look at people that were optimistic versus the people that are pessimistic, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the term that came from it, learn helplessness. And what it said was, when events happen, for example, people are either going to see it as permanent or they're going to see it as like, this doesn't last forever.
Right.
And then it's either you're going to see I'm in control versus I'm not in control, or they see it as very pervasive.
Okay, like all over.
Right. Like if this happened in here, it's going to happen somewhere else. So, and that's like more of the pessimistic side of it. But your experiences continue, depending on how your worldviews are, they continue to create that sense of learned helplessness. And of course it was done on animals, and then they used it with like people that had came back from the war and trying to understand like PTSD and stuff. But I thought it was an interesting term. I didn't dig all the way into it.
Okay.
But it derived out of positive psychology though.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's definitely enough.
What gets me is the word "learn," though. Like,
I was going to go there.
Well,
I was waiting for that shoe to drop. Right, like what part was learned? Because it sounds like this is like how you see the world, right? And it's not necessarily learned; it's like inherent.
It ends up being, which is why they say that we all have like a temperament, like we all have an inherent temperament, right? Like if you go back to like your childhood, why there's biology and all of that, like if you go back and think about like what would your parents say about you that may have made it difficult to raise you. And I can go back and say, what would people say about me as a child that you can still see in adulthood? And I think that that's the part that a lot of us dismiss too. Like you got some kids that, I mean, I could even think about my own, my own, well, I don't care. I'm still trying to figure out what his personality is. But like, Caden is naturally hard on himself. Like he be creating stuff sometimes that's just like not even there sometimes. Well, I guess I will say it's there. Like the night before a test, he'll start like freaking out about it, right? Anxiety, whatever you want to call it. Like you see that, I can see that today. Right. Now, I guess it's my role as a parent to figure out how to like support him so that it doesn't turn into learned helplessness. And then at 30 years old, like he having panic attacks and all kinds of things. I'm not saying that I can, but if we were to go back to your inherent personality, what do you think your parents, uncles, aunts, or people would say about you? Because I think that we dismiss that piece. Like,
what would they say about me?
What would they say about you? Because we all have an inherent temperament. And I don't feel like therapists and all that talk about that temperament often, like, because I do like to ask my clients, like, if your parents were to describe you as a child, what would they say about you? Because that gives me insight in terms of how you viewed the world then versus how you still view the world today.
Right.
What would your parents, like, what would Mr. Greg say about you?
How about you tell me what Mr. Greg would say about me?
All right, so you gonna tell me what my parents would say about me?
Oh, shit. Okay. My dad was saying...
Hold on. No, how about we do it for, how we'll do it for each other? I think that Mr. Greg would say, you're hard-headed.
What did he say that?
As a kid, going back from, I would think that he would say, you're hard-headed. My mind just went to when we played on the basketball team. Because Mr. Grant wasn't going to put you on the court if you didn't show up. Sierra, you're going to have to work a little harder on this. I think that your mom would say big heart, caring, like there for everybody. I'm going to get one more family member outside of them two.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of somebody.
How about you?
Your inherent temperament? I see both sides.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see both sides. I was trying to give a different one that may not necessarily align though, like, because okay, I can't think of anybody.
Maybe you don't have to say the family member, but you can say the trait that they may see.
Grown.
Oh, okay.
Or like, and I don't know that I just, now that you got your own kids, you be like, kids just the kids, or teenagers are just teenagers. So that's what comes to my mind.
Okay.
What? So
now I'm about to have you over there holding your breath.
Okay, what would they say?
Okay. What would your parent...
what would my mama say?
What
would my mama say?
Quill is extremely smart. She knows it all.
Think she knows it all.
And then your dad would say, that's my baby there. She always on top of it. She'll tell all your business. Now, what I'm gonna do with like
another family member? Okay.
That girl before her time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you think about what we both have contributed, and you think about our lives as an adult and the challenges that we face,
right?
Because I'm listening to what you said, this thing that I think I've always thought that I knew better than those adults until I became an adult, and then I started doing like like making decisions and stuff, I realized I didn't know a whole lot. And it cost me, and I'm not gonna say it cost me, but
Well, it's
I've
not that you
learned
don't
some.
know,
But it
right?
also was a
It's that when
reflection of
you
how judgmental I was. And not all kids are that way either. Like that judgmental trait will have you lonely, feeling alone all the time too. Like people don't understand me, they don't see me, I'm right. I got it all figured out. You end up not having no friends. You don't know how to build a community. I got lucky, girl. No, I get that. Like, and I don't think that, and I think that as I got older, when I think about the things that I continue to struggle with, that inherent temperament that we're talking about, it was a direct reflection of that.
Okay.
I really, when I think about the things that I still like, that is still something that I try to, that I have to challenge.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I didn't see any ones that I have to challenge today. I don't know. I thought like my own inherent temperament, right, is more so like fighter. Like, but maybe that's what you said, like hard-headed.
Yeah,
right?
hard-headed. Fighting against everything somebody say. But not like, it's like passive aggressive though, because I continue to see Sierra is so passive aggressive to me.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, you like passive because it don't come off as aggressive.
Okay.
Like, it's not like direct, like in your face. It's very passive. It comes off as like nonchalant.
Okay.
But you can feel it.
Okay.
You can feel it. So we all have,
aggressive.
huh? Passive aggressive. Yeah, she passive aggressive. And in my case, maybe I'm a little bit more just aggressive in that sense because yeah.
Okay. So our inherent temperaments is what you were saying is what we continue to experience today.
Right. It's our personalities.
Right.
And we continue to develop on it. Now I think that how your parents end up nurturing it or figuring out how to work with it is interesting. But then science is just so complex. Like you take a kid like me, it could end up being I end up with like if you nurtured that, like she knows it all, then you be like, okay, she got narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder because some of those things can derive out of that too.
Right.
That stuff, it's just hard. It's difficult. Like it's difficult, and I'm glad nobody like nurtured that. There has to be a balance. I'm glad nobody nurtured that all the way, because I would be off.
I mean,
I'm a little.
I don't know how you nurture like hard-headed, but
well, you don't just beat just beat their ass all the time,
or
right?
not,
or not either,
because that's who they are.
Right.
So, and then the other stuff you said, what did you say? Sweet, loving. Did you say that?
Yeah, I said sweet.
Okay.
Sweet, loving. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, you nurture too much of that, and then you just got like a pushover. So
yeah, I think that maybe like when people are like, if you start to understand that we have an inherent temperament that develops our personality, maybe our parents, because there was no such thing as like gentle parenting and all that, maybe they just probably went far to the left. A lot of the times, and versus just being able to find like that middle ground. But now I think that, because you had started talking about gentle parenting this morning, right?
Right.
I think that you can go so far on the left with gentle parenting too that it's like what my grandma says, like weaker and wiser. Like, and I think that you can go so far on the left with the whole gentle parenting thing too that we forget that people need to develop a sense of resiliency.
So I mean, I guess like I said, I never knew exactly what gentle parenting was, but I don't know that it blocks you from being resilient, right? If anything, it probably supports your resiliency in a way to But I guess
it depends on how you understand gentle parenting. To me, what gentle parenting is, treat people how you want to be treated. To me, it's just that simple. Like, just because people are kids does not mean that you use your authority to, like, my way or the highway. Like, I just think at the end of the day, this is the golden rule, and like, treat people how you want to be treated. And that's the same with your kids. Like, if you say something, you mess up, you can apologize to your child.
Right.
And it's not about them being a child. It's like, at the end of the day, we're all humans. That's how I see gentle parenting. Like, but a lot of it goes into how you treat yourself and all those other things, right? So I just see gentle parenting as that. Treat people how you want to be treated. When it's all said and done, how will you feel about how you've shown up in these relationships?
Right.
But I think that just based off of the information that is out there, gentle parenting is like this softness. Don't say certain things because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. Like, but to me, it builds conflict resolution skills. Like, it's so much that comes out of being able to find the balance when you're dealing with people. And I don't think that children are any different.
Right. Because instead of being, emotionally unregulated, going crazy on your kids, you learn to have a conversation, which means that your kids learn to have a conversation and deal with conflict and frustrations and things that are unwanted in life, right?
Right.
Because I have a voice. I think that's what I got more than anything out of the whole gentle parenting thing that I watch. It was, kids grow up and understand that they have a voice. And I think that that's powerful. And I think that's so opposite of some of the ways, like, that I've grown up. No hit to y'all mind that, but, like, you say certain things, you allowed to get the taste slapped out of your mouth.
Right.
But, on the other side of that, do you always say everything that you need to say, right? Because you don't feel that you can.
Basically. Last night when we were at the soccer game, Gaten was like, "Mom, you have an attitude." And I was like, "I do." But Caden, he has his attitude sometimes too, and that's okay, because sometimes you don't feel like being bothered. But do I have to mistreat you? I was like, "Caden, seriously, sun is so hot out here. Like, I don't want your elbows touching me. Like, just don't touch me at all. Like, I just want to just, like, don't touch me." But it opens up the space for him to say, like, he can, I guess, boundaries in that sense. Like, right now is not a good time.
Right.
I don't want to be touched. And I think that, like, because sometimes I don't want to be either.
Right.
So and I also think on the other side too, it takes the pressure off of you as a parent with feeling like that you always have to, like, be on.
True.
I don't feel like I always have to be on. Like, no, Caden, I have an attitude right now. Like, I don't want to be touchy feeling right
after that soccer game. I mean, not soccer, but track. Between my legs and body hurting, because, Lord, and just like the heat, I was over it. And I was like, Neat was like, "Mom, can you do my hair? Because Dominique, please stop talking." But then I went back. I said, "I really, like, it's hot out here. I really
need to cool down. Let me get home, take a shower
before I can even think about your hair."
Right.
Like, but my immediate response was, "Girl, no," like, that wasn't but that's my
what you thought, right.
But I was like, "Look, it's hot.
Right.
And I can't think right now. Mommy needed an off minute."
Right.
But I guess that's more so what gentle parenting it is, right? Is being able to talk to your kids about what they're experiencing and them being able to have the language to communicate it back.
Right.
Without us take it personally because we feel like we provide.
Right. And this is a bunch of ego.
Right.
I just keep it simple. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Right.
You don't want nobody to talk to you like that. You don't want nobody to slap you across your face.
Right.
Don't do it to other people. Don't do it to other people. You don't want nobody cursing you out or whatever it may be.
Right.
And it keeps it, well, it makes it a little bit easier. But what were we talking about again?
We were talking about your inherent temperament.
Oh yeah, we were talking about your inherent temperament,
right? As a kid, and
so let's bring it back. So going back to that post, right?
Right.
What type of temperament would heart that and say that they like that post? Because I don't. Okay, well, I saved it because I like to go back and reflect today.
So you didn't like it, but you saved
No, I ain't like it because I don't like the post. I don't like.
Okay,
and
so
not
let's
to say
talk
that
about
I
the
agree.
temperament that would save it.
The temperament that would save the judgmental temperament.
The know-it-all.
Yeah. I told you.
I'm gonna save this right.
I'm gonna save it. I told you. I still struggle with that.
And I would scroll right past it.
I would like to say, instead of calling me a know-it-all, I am a disruptor.
Okay.
I would like to use the word disruptor because that is how change comes about.
Right.
And when you think about what this podcast is about and all the topics that we talk about,
we know it all. No, I'm just we're disruptors.
She trying to play. She does have a point though, and I'm glad that you bring it in from that perspective because
no, we don't know it all though.
No, and I know that we don't know it all, but I do like to challenge. And I think, like, when you tell me that my mom would say that, yeah, I challenged some of that shit as a kid. Because some of that shit ain't make no sense to me. It didn't. Today, it makes a little bit more sense to me now that I understand, like, adulting, right? And, like, my dad created a different space for you to be able to challenge. Like, my dad is more graceful. He's like, yeah, I did it. Now, what you gonna do about it? To me, a kid like me appreciated that.
Right.
Because it was authenticity.
Right.
Like, don't be like hiding behind the curtains and you doing this and then gonna tell me. My dad didn't move like that. So for me, honestly, I think that my dad nurtured the know-it-all without knowing that he was nurturing it in a positive way.
Right.
My mom, you can't even try to tell me anything. You can't, because I don't understand what you're doing.
Because you say one thing,
and then you doing something. Don't tell me to do something and you ain't doing it. Lead by example.
And your dad is it? So that's what they're saying. Gentle parenting is, right? You're just leading by example. So maybe your dad was a gentle parent.
For me,
oh Lord.
So maybe I had the best. That's why I say I had the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I've had the best of both worlds, being able to experience the duality of maybe a gentle parent versus a not so gentle parent, I guess. And not that my mom wasn't gentle, because Petey probably would tell you that she was gentle.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, as he's gotten older and like has had other children, I think that the gentle parenting does not necessarily work if he has to raise them from the ground up, because the downside is
Say what?
From the ground up, because the downside to me is their structure and discipline. And I think, so I hate the way that this is going to come out, but I'm going to say it. How we teach people how to behave.
How do you teach people how to behave?
I think the structure and discipline, it matters. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about like beating kids. But at some point, as early as 9 months old, and that's why I think that it's important to understand like how we develop. At 9 months, your kids can start to manipulate you.
Okay.
Like they're aware that they're actually manipulating. I watched it other than it was actually funny though with Cam. He had bumped his head on the couch, and he was like, and Danny was like, he's trying to get your attention, but he wasn't like really crying.
Right.
Now, granted, he's a baby, like how you feed into it, but children have the ability to do the same thing. Like you get to a certain age and you still talking about at 7, 8 years old, like gentle parenting, and they manipulate you. That's not good. You need to find the balance. I'm not saying that I'm gonna beat you or do any of those things, but there has to be some balance. And then you wonder why they get older and they beat you up.
I don't know about getting older and beating anybody.
They do. These kids are getting older and beating their parents up, and some are taking it to the extent of like killing their parents.
Girl, I can't even think about it.
But you know how
gentle parenting that's a role for me. Like I'm not sitting up here saying that I'm a gentle parent either. Like, please do.
I don't identify with
please
that.
Please do not misconstrue.
But
that.
what I do think that Neek would say is, I think that Neek. You remember when we had that conversation with Neek at the bounce place,
right?
She gets challenged on her victimhood or anything else too. But she also know that there's a space there to have the conversations that she had. But there's also accountability and responsibility.
Right.
Right. So I do think that you are a gentle parent, but I think that when you start to accept it the way that society has positioned it, you like, But if you take it for what you know it to be, like it's just like you go into the workplace, right?
Right.
I think we can say gentle leadership. I mean, you can throw gentle on anything, right? Like, How do I talk to you? Do I lead with empathy? But you still have to have difficult conversations, talk to people about their performance. And when you don't have those things, you end up with an underperformer.
Right.
And it affects the ROI and everything else. And same thing with kids. If you do not have those difficult conversations or
affects the ROI.
It affects the ROI. Basically, and that's when I started to see how everything is truly interconnected. All of those skills serve you at some point. I would say y'all need to go back and think about what your inherent temperament is. Go back and ask your mama or your daddy, what was I like as a child? What was it like raising me?
I know you said it today, but I am going to go back and be like, what was it like raising me? Just to hear what they're saying.
They might be on that gentle parenting shit, so they might not tell you the truth. Your dad not.
My daddy is not. My daddy is not, because I think every time he get a chance to remind me, when I tell him a story of my kids, he like, now you dealing with it today.
Yeah,
But I would like to, like hear his
because the truth
is, how is that still showing up?
Right.
And, based off of like my beliefs about who we are and who we have the potential to be, is while those are our inherent personalities, like that doesn't have to control us, right? Because we get to decide how we want to show up, and create an awareness is
right. Now, granted, the environment is shaping that personality over time, but we have one. Like, that's when I listen to some people sometimes, I'm like, you think about as an adult, there are certain personalities, and I know what mine is. Mine is victimhood. Like, I do not do well. I don't do well with it. Can you imagine me having a child that tried to play victim all the time? Gentle parenting would be very difficult for me, so I would have to challenge myself. Because it's just like as an adult, there are certain personalities that you probably just don't mesh well with.
I don't know.
But
I think but
I'm just saying,
personalities.
I would say false. I would say that you could come off like aloof and very dismissive. If we were to go back to our childhood and people, like, if you were to pick a kid, people would probably say you were weird or something.
Okay.
That's because you may not have said anything. And
that's because I wasn't being gentle parent.
Maybe I'm saying TMI, but even in the workspace, like Sierra likes to keep it separate. She likes to keep it very separate. And sometimes people can misread it.
What do they misread it for?
Not personable, not connector, not relatable. People can read it for...
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, y'all keep your home life over there, and I'm going to keep my home life over here. But that doesn't mean that I don't mesh well with your personality. Like, I would still interact with people.
That is false. You're not being honest.
I don't know.
When I say mesh, okay, let me take that word back, mesh. There are certain personalities that you just rather for you stay over there and I'm gonna stay over here.
No.
That is false. That is false. You mean so for certain personalities, as an HR professional, you don't rather to communicate with a person on email because I don't want to talk to you like one-on-one right here. Just send me an email and I'm gonna send you an email back so we can be on record.
Nope. She's thinking about a certain thing, but no, I think that it's development, right? Development in the workspace, right? You maybe you have developed and more you learn,
right? Maybe,
but I don't think that gives me like an issue with your personality, right? I mean,
I'm not saying that you have an issue with people's personality, but there are some personalities to where they are a little bit more challenging
I would probably talk to you and
others.
Send you an email. But I am HR. I mean, just that part.
What does
let's not get it confused. What? Let's not get it confused. Because I think it can get confusing, right? Because that other part, right? I'm still loving, I'm sweet, I'm all of those things.
But
right?
if I were to, I use the basketball example with your dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what I said. Like, you're gonna have to push yourself or go a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when you create the separation and I'm HR over here and I'm this over here, one, I don't believe that those things are separate per se. Mm-hmm. I think it's an opportunity to maybe lean in, but because I think that you don't trust certain personalities, you're gonna put their ass on record.
I mean, that does not mean that I don't trust your personality. That just means that we have a record.
What?
We may need to have.
I don't mean that you don't trust like the person. There are certain people that you can see their temperaments, their personalities, and because of that, you choose to deal with them a certain way.
True.
It would be just like if you said my mom saying that I'm a know-it-all. Mm-hmm. She didn't take the same approach as my dad because maybe my personality was difficult for her in some ways. So I beat Quill or whatever.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. There are personalities that I have certain personalities that,
I mean, just because you do that doesn't mean I'm okay with people's personalities, honestly. I mean,
I'm not saying that you
may deal with you may deal with them differently. I mean, but that's just people in general, right?
True.
I mean, the conversation that I have with you, maybe with someone else, you could have the same conversation, but maybe it just different.
But you have to identify that there's a judgment, but you don't have to have a problem with the person, but there's a judgment with, if you are having there may be a judgment about how their personality is.
I mean,
or how they may respond, because if you've been able to identify another person's temperament, for example.
So is it judgment or is
let's just use
like
you and
track record?
Track record. You can just say track record, however you want to say it. Personality, all the same. Like over time, you build a track record, and that's your personality. But say for example, when you and I work together, right? Mm-hmm. If Quail is this, I know it all, whatever. Like you may say, I'm going to come in here with all the details. That way she don't try to say whatever. It's the same because there's a track record that's been created. And first of all, I ain't going to let you make me feel this. I'm not saying that you thought this, but I'm not going to make me feel this way. I'm going to make sure that I have certain things in order, or I'm not going to go there and say, because of track record, I know her personality. I know that temperament.
But it doesn't mean that you rather not deal.
I'm not saying it, right? I'm not, but I never did. I say that you rather not deal. Well, that's not what I intended.
Right? That's not what.
Okay, that's not what.
Well, I guess that's what I was saying. That I don't have an issue with dealing with any personalities.
But that's how you've grown. That we've all have grown. Because I would say that I can deal with some
victims.
Yeah. I can deal with victims. Do I prefer to? No. Do you probably see parts of me that I wish that wouldn't show up something. Yes. But because I still deal with victim a lot of it today.
Okay.
But I do feel I do get annoyed easily, and my ability to want to continue to serve, it changes a little bit.
Okay.
Compared to the person that's not in that learn helplessness space, like where I go back, because you've seen I come back and be like, see, this, and you be like, no, just be patient. That's all I'm saying. That's all because
we deal with
personalities differently. And I think that our parents are no different. Like they see the personalities and they deal with them.
Right.
And maybe not in the best way. So go ahead and wrap us up because you usually do really good at that. What were we talking about?
What part of your childhood personality was that? I don't know.
That's that's not part of my childhood. That's where I've grown because I definitely don't know what we just talked about. So I have no idea. I do not know it all in this moment. What we talk about?
Okay.
You gonna summarize it for us?
You know, we started with the post where we really talked about how people see the differences in the older generation versus the people today looking for fulfillment, right? Basically the older people don't get, why we would want fulfillment because that just wasn't their journey. And then we went into Lord. We went a few places today.
This is the last episode. Who cares?
Okay, how about we tell people? I mean, they watch the episode. We don't really have to.
Right. So we said that this was the last episode today. Not forever, and not as long as it was the last time. We're just going to we're going on summer break like the kids do.
Right. Y'all seen that post, right? I wish my job could close down and we could go outside and play. So we're going outside.
We're gonna go outside and play. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe. Success is complicated. You got to click the button subscribe on YouTube.
Right.
And who was that person that left the comment?
I think her name was Veronica.
Let me see. You might be right though. Did I delete it already? I don't know. But Valentina, Jernick or somebody. Thank you so much for the comment that you left. It was an opportunity to, I guess, to validate the work that we do on this podcast in terms of, having new dialogues, challenging what's actually being said out there so people can really start to think for themselves. So we really appreciate you tuning in and commenting. But we will see you guys within the next 60 days. In the meantime, follow Success is Complicated on Instagram and CBizzle, CeeBizzle. All right, we're out.
Bye.